What's the wildest conspiracy theory you've heard that someone actually believes? A former neighbor of mine claimed that there was a gold mine underneath the apartment building we lived in. She claimed that she saw miners going into secret entrances in the middle of the night, and the landlord was getting filthy rich without sharing anything with us. She couldn't explain how they shipped the gold out without anybody noticing, or how an apartment building could be built directly on top of a mine. She seemed sane enough before that conversation, so I was really surprised. The flat Earth conspiracy will forever confuse me. Yeah, this one is incredibly dumb. There are many conspiracies that are quite wild, many that are quite dumb, but usually, there is at least some kind of notion in the backdrop where you could guess why people believe them. Like, okay, if you believe this, then you can more easily make sense of why WW2 happened. Or, etc. But with flat Earth, there's just nothing behind it. There's no reasonable explanation for why the entire scientific community would go to enormous lengths to lie about the shape of the planet. Like, if it were flat instead of a globe, nothing else would change. It's just astonishingly inane, the whole thing. An ex-coworker of mine spent an entire week's worth of lunch hours trying to explain to myself and two others that not only is the world flat, but there was a giant ring of ice surrounding us. Beyond that ring of ice were places like Atlantis, Asgard, Tamriel, yes, from the Elder Scrolls series, which he'd never played, etc. He even had photoshopped maps and random YouTube videos as proof. This is the same ex-coworker who flew Confederate flags and plastered his truck in Trump stickers while living in Canada. Would hotbox his truck to get his newborn baby to sleep. Throw wheelbarrows at his subordinates when they didn't follow his unclear instructions, and have fistfights with our boss, his brother, in the street out front of our customers' houses. Vaccines? Like, we have nearly 100 years of evidence on how beneficial they are. Diseases we nearly eradicated are starting to come back because of people opting out. My brother, whose own mother is a nurse who personally vaccinated us, refuses to get them because he's gone down some rabbit hole. I just can't with him. I've heard someone say before that vaccines are victims of their own success. We don't see how bad measles and smallpox are anymore, so it's easy to think they're survivable because of, well, survivor bias. Our engineering professor at school loves to joke around with the anti-vaxxers. During COVID, he did get the shot, but being the engineering professor, he has access to a bunch of neat hardware for different experiments. One of these is a sheet of magnetic paper, which when held up to a magnetic field, will show the pattern of the field. He taped a magnet on his arm and then went around to people saying, "I got the COVID vaccine and look at this." He would hold the paper up to it, and sure enough, there was a field. They put a chip in my arm with the vaccine. As you can imagine, it freaked people out. He renewed the joke last month with the solar eclipse, showing people that his vaccine was creating a magnetic field in line with the increased gravitation field created by the moon, coming in line with the sun. Hehehe. When I came back from a year working in Antarctica, I sold my Mega Zoom camera on a trade sell website. The guy who bought it asked me if he could call as he wanted to go over some details. I agreed, and one of the first things he asked was whether I could see the ice wall from Scott Base. I was dumbstruck. He then talked at me for a few hours about flat Earth and how he would use the camera to prove distances and the horizon, and then merged into how the powerful people in this world are actually reptile people, or lizard people, whatever it was he believed. Told me that's the reason we never saw pictures of the royals at nighttime, because it would give away their skin. I was like, bro, we literally have pictures of Harry out partying at night. He's not a lizard. His reasoning? Oh, he's obviously not a full-grown lizard yet. It was a rather entertaining way to spend 2 odd hours, and I enjoyed his enthusiasm at trying to explain phenomena and conspiracy theories to me. Ultimately, he bought the camera. Never heard word back if he proved his theories. I'm almost disappointed. This was wild. You got your money and some entertainment for free. My neighbor thinks that Bill Gates believes there are obelisks put on Earth by aliens that have inscriptions stating the maximum human population Earth can support. And because of this, the Gates Foundation's immunization projects are actually population control projects. I used to work with a guy who believed everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. He believes DARPA caused the forest fires in California by beaming microwaves into the trees. He believes in an ice wall that encircles the flat Earth. He believes in the Illuminati, the NWO, the Rothschilds, lizard folk. He believes the pyramids were giant wireless electricity emitters. He believes that medicine is evil because pharmacy comes from the Greek for poison. He believes that Polaris is the foot of heaven, which is a new one for me. I legitimately enjoyed working with him because every week was something new and utterly off the wall. Met a Ukrainian fellow a few years back who insisted that every archaeological site and every old building on the planet was actually less than 250 years old. That there was a global conspiracy to fake everything before the invention of photography, so we didn't exist until we were able to photograph ourselves? That's interesting. Very odd fellow. One of those types extremely impressed with their own imagined intelligence. Had been in school for art but dropped out because, and I quote, "I knew everything better than the teachers did." He kept trying to take over the conversation at the table until everyone just ignored him and talked to each other in small groups instead of having a table-wide conversation. Unfortunately, I was sitting next to him, and, as the only scientist at the table, he latched onto me as a target for his increasingly weird stuff. I appreciate your sacrifice. At least you got a good story out of it. This feels like something a little kid would think. Kind of like how small children will look at black and white photos and ask if people weren't in color back when the photo was taken. That you're supposed to pee on jellyfish stings. Obviously, it's a conspiracy everyone is in on to pee on me. But the fact is, peeing on jellyfish stings does not help. You're supposed to shit on jellyfish stings. I thought it was ejaculate that helps. Think about it. Jellyfish sting with tentacles, and sperm have tentacles. Science. Thank you for watching this video. I will be glad to receive your support in the form of a subscription to the channel and a like. Also write topics that interest you in the comments.